Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us right here on the #1 breakfast show in the country, Morning at NTV. If you want to resuscitate your creative processes, yes, you need to get yourself a cup of coffee like this one, Inspire Africa Coffee. Yes, you'll be able to resuscitate your creative processes in that regard. That aside, we want to get deeper into this conversation about the Emyooga initiative. Where did it go wrong since it was instituted in 2019? We do have Rita Namoenje, the coordinator of the Emyooga initiative in the President's office. She's not alone. We also do have Martin Ojara Mapenduzi. He's the MP Badeg Layibi, and he's also the chairperson of the local government public accounts committee. Thank you, sir, for joining us, and thank you very much, my sister Namoenje, for joining us right here on Morning at NTV.
Thank you.
All right, let's kick off with the easiest question. What was the intention of this Emyooga initiative when you were planning it?
The Emyooga initiative, the bigger perspective or objective was to make sure that the 68% in subsistence farming or subsistence life are transformed into a productive and money economy. But to be specific is to stimulate and mobilize the savings of those people in small and medium enterprises that we call the Emyooga enterprises.
Right.
And then also for government to provide seed capital so that it spurs or it triggers the improvement of their enterprises. These enterprises are 18, and I can read them.
Please do.
We have the borders, the women entrepreneurs, the carpenters, the saloon operators, taxi operators, restaurant owners, welders, market vendors, youth leaders, persons with disabilities, produce dealers, mechanics, tailors, journalists, performing artists, veterans, fishermen, local elected leaders. There are 18 categories.
But many of these people are saying that they were unable to access this money because of the stringent measures. That conversation has come out too many times. Access to the money is very hard because of the guidelines.
I want to dispute that allegation, partly, but also partly accept for reasons that the mindset of Ugandans want quick things. But issues of money move on trust and procedures, because we're advocating for circle movement. And circle movement moves on international principles. They're not just for Uganda, where there is the voluntarism, self-help, self-accountability, and a mutual agreement in the group of the procedures they're supposed to use, because they sit and agree on the laws that are supposed to be used to safeguard their resources. Because remember, in Emyooga, there is no collateral, there is no insurance. Insurance is your savings, and collateral is your group. So being surety for someone, you need to trust and know that honestly this person will not run away with money.
Right.
So that procedure of validating that honestly this person comes from this parish. At times there are people who are migrants all the time, but they take advantage of the information that is around. So that screening takes time. Then secondly, according to the law, to get certification or registration from Ministry of Trade and Cooperative, because remember, you're going to take people's savings. That is people's money. And you're also going to loan. They must verify and justify that you're going to really perform that objective of making sure that the people's savings are safe. And when you loan out the money, you'll take the responsibility to recover that money. So that is the process that people are talking of as tedious because a person wants to just take a loan application and immediately they approve without verifying whether that person saves or whether that person really stays or has not migrated from the parish or the ward. So that is the process they're
We've
talking about.
also been getting information, Amwende, that the leaders in some jurisdictions are actually removing some beneficiaries from these lists, like the Amolata Resident District Commissioner, Mrs. Eva Nalongo Kwesiga. She actually removed over 411 groups from the list and created her own list of 317 groups, and the people were up in arms. And this has been also reported in some other jurisdictions. Do you have information about this?
If there is an allegation, it's due for investigation.
All right.
But knowing that in Emyooga there are many eyes, I'll not justify when I don't have information about
Indeed.
it. But what I know that validation screens,
Indeed.
because the people who impersonated to be in these enterprises when they are not in these enterprises. So when they remove them, they make a lot of noise. Then there are also people who impersonated to be coming from that particular district. And immediately the whistleblowers, because in Emyooga, the structure itself screens, because you must come from that particular parish and you must be doing, or you must be in that particular enterprise or business. So at times, when people are removed from the list, they make noise. However, I don't dispute the allegations, because we are monitoring, and in case it happens, everybody will be brought to book. And also, there are also schools of thoughts or certain incidences where we have gotten people impersonating to be in particular enterprises, and they withdraw money and they run away. So when at times the RDCs are screening them so much, and with the help of the members and the LC ones, they feel that they're smart. You know, Uganda with the smartness of money. But to be very honest, we are trying as government.
Indeed, what you mentioned is true, because in Soroti Finance Trust Bank it did happen. They withdrew over 55 million shillings that was intended to go to the beneficiaries. And some of these people were actually the people who were trading the beneficiaries.
Yes.
They were not the beneficiaries
Not
themselves.
only even Soroti, we even had Butambala, and those people were arrested. Soroti, those people were arrested. We had a rumor of Kalungu district, and a team has already gone to verify.
Indeed.
We had in Kabale where a person impersonated to be a journalist when he's not, and he was arrested.
Indeed.
And he returned the money. So in the screening, the smart ones, and by the way, the smart ones are the ones who make a lot of, of noise. But we are trying so much to make sure that money reaches the intended beneficiaries. All
right, the conversation is largely centered around the Emyooga initiative that was launched in 2019 August by the president of this country, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. 100 billion was set aside, with each constituency getting 560 million Uganda shillings. I have Honorable Martin Ojarama Penduzi. Yes, he's the chairperson of the Public Accounts, Local Government Public Accounts Committee, and is going to be expounding more on what they've been investigating over the same issue, the Emyooga program. MPs have been interacting with the beneficiaries, and some of whom are saying they had trouble accessing some of this money because of the stringent guidelines. But that aside, what else have you discovered during your investigations, Martin?
Well, we, and when I say we, I mean members of parliament.
Indeed.
We have been raising a lot of concern on the manner in which the Emyooga program is being implemented. And a lot of these concerns are coming because government is planning to, kickstart another program, the parish model. And so members of parliament have been saying, look, we are starting another program, but there is another one which is not working well. And so how do we even start a new program when one initiative is not doing well?
Indeed.
And so as we kept on raising this matter in parliament, the Speaker of Parliament then decided that members of parliament should go to their respective areas and do an oversight assessment. And so myself and my colleagues who are members of parliament from Gulu City decided to move down, just like other members also did in their respective areas. And so, like, I wrote to the town clerk and asking the town clerk specific questions. I gave him terms of reference. And our intention was, first of all, to establish whether our city received money and how much money the city received. The other thing that we wanted to find out was the criteria used for, you know, the distribution of these funds and who qualifies for this one. I mean, for this fund. We also wanted to find out how many SACCOs, you know, how many groups applied for these funds, and if they applied, how many got approved and received the money, and those who did not receive, and why. We needed those explanations. The other thing we wanted to find out the banking institutions involved, and we needed to see the bank statements and how the groups are performing, and also to find out what accountability measures had been put in place to safeguard, you know, resources, but also make sure that the groups who receive the money are able to, because it's a revolving fund, so they are able to borrow, use it, generate, and pay it back, and then to also generally get a feel of how the groups are performing. If you receive money, what are you doing with this money, and what is the impact? So we went down, and I can tell you the findings are very interesting, and there is need.
What are some of those?
I'll share with you. First of all, like you just gave examples of RDCs, and she also confirmed that a few other people are not doing the right thing. Indeed. It is true. But I can tell you it's partly because of the, I would call it, operational guidelines that are not very clear. I will tell you this. You decided that the resident district commissioners take part in, you know,
monitoring.
Not monitoring, not monitoring. I have a copy of the when you look at the memorandum of understanding,
Martin.
the MOU that Microfinance Support Center signed with the groups. The RDCs are supposed to, in the process of requisitioning for this fund, they are supposed to endorse. The commercial officers have to send the requisition to the RDCs.
Indeed.
And if you want me to quote, I will quote. I have it here, where the RDC plays a, you know, and let me read it for you.
Yeah.
Please.
So in this part, you'll find the resident district commissioner is supposed to, under roles and responsibilities. I'll show you. There is a part where the resident district commissioner is supposed to endorse.
Right.
So if a group is supposed to access funds, the processes are handled, then the commercial officer, then it goes to the RDC.
Yes.
To endorse and goes to the bank.
Indeed.
Now, the moment you decide that the RDC should take part in the processes of approving whether you should receive money,
I see.
that creates problem, because the resident district commissioners are mandated to monitor implementation of government programs and other programs in their areas of jurisdiction. And then someone who is supposed to monitor becomes a part of the implementation process and the approval. And so that creates a problem. And we shared with our resident city commissioner, who is doing a good job, is a good RCC. But still we say this is going to create a problem. Because what if we have a bad resident city commissioner who does not have the goodwill to do the right thing?
Indeed.
It can be, can cause a lot of manipulation. So if you're giving an example like in Amolata, probably it's because of that role which they have been given, which contradicts their constitutional mandate. And I think that needs to be corrected. But I'll also share with you the other findings. Like Gulu, just like you mentioned the amount, Gulu received 1,120,000,000 for two divisions, city divisions, and each city division is supposed to receive 560 million. Now I will tell you, she mentioned a number of categories. Each category has been allocated about 30 million shilling,
right?
Except the leaders.
Of 50 million.
Yeah, the leaders, SACCOs have to receive 50 million. Okay. Now I'll give you an example of a category which is you know, the produce dealers. I found out that 175 groups applied for this money under that category, the produce dealers.
Yes.
So you have 175 groups who are struggling to access the 30 million. How does this work? So if you are to distribute equally, it's about, is it 50,000?
Really little money.
Little money, or 5,000, I don't know. You can make the breakdown.
Indeed.
So the question is, yes, you may have very, very good intentions. You want to help.
Yes.
You want to provide solution. But again, if you do not plan well and provide adequate resources, you then create a problem. The other thing, she talked about the procedures. Of course, the procedures are tedious. But it's not about procedures. Because however difficult the procedures are, when you take people through the processes, you train them, you prepare them mentally.
Indeed.
That
on what to do.
Exactly. They then get to do the right thing.
But here we are, journalists don't even know they are in this group.
But I can tell you from their own explanation, there was no proper training. They were supposed to receive a training for about 2-3 days. It was 2 hours.
2 hours of training.
From their own testimonies. So you are dealing with people, some of them who have never been involved in any productive work. Some of them have not been to the formal schools where you have been to. And so you expect them to understand the procedures and know how to manage businesses and do all that. And then you train them for 2 hours and you tell them you're ready to go. And then there are lots of requirements that you have to meet. I think there is need to take our people through a proper training. They need to know. They also need to mentally prepare.
Besides training, do you think that this program was highly politicized?
Yes.
Like in Kawempe, they were operating in an NRM office.
Well, I will tell you this. Actually, what the people know is different from what the technocrats explain.
All right.
Because we had a meeting with the technical team, the RCC, the city clerk, and all that. First of all, there is no way you can hold the accounting officer of a city or a district accountable. They will tell you, no, we are not in the mainstream of the implementation. And then you hear the commercial officer is supposed to be very active. And then the city clerk, who is the accounting officer, is not actively involved because there is nowhere he or she is supposed to fit in. And then we say, there are challenges. These have
leaders were cut out.
Yes, harmonized. But the other thing that I will not forget to mention, I think there is a problem with the way our system works. Because part of the procedures, you are supposed to have your group, and there are supposed to be certification. And then some documents have to be brought to Kampala for certification. It takes 5 months. And so if you want a program to succeed, and you are reluctant, you do things the way you want, and you're dealing with a population, you want the 68% to get out of
subsistence
and become part of the money economy. How does that work? So that needs to be improved.
All right.
The other thing that we found, which is really glaring, is the fact that many people are dropping out. They're losing interest. Like in Gulu, about 480 groups applied.
Yes.
Out of the 480 groups, from the total money, only 97 million has been accessed. So from 1.12 billion, you are only able to get 97 million. And that's less than 5%
wow.
of the total amount.
Let's bring in Rita Namoinje to also react to that. You wanted to make a submission onto that.
But also remember just maybe in a few seconds. Remember, this has been for over 8 months.
Yes.
But the other problem which is disturbing people is that you are coming with conditions that are very new to people who have never been involved in that. You are supposed to make sure they have offices and all that, and the operational aspect is a lot of money.
Indeed.
So people are suffocating.
Indeed.
And they are dropping out. And also the other bigger part is where you are supposed to, because if myself and you, are in a group and we have to access this money, the condition is that we first have to contribute 1/3. Okay? So if we need
you need to save first.
If we need 30 million, we first need to generate about 10 million to access this money. So people are saying, is this a program to help those who do not have so they can have something? So you are telling me to first contribute this. It's tough. And we're not saying it should be for free. But I think there should be consideration to reduce the contribution. If it's 10%, That's reasonable.
And Martin, what you're saying is true because the Amalat RGC said if you save 2 shillings, you get 4 shillings. Amid an uproar.
No.
Go ahead,
let me give the right information. I will begin with the last one.
Yes.
Of if you have to get this money, you have to save 1/3. I think this is a misinterpretation.
All right.
The interpretation was, like I told you, that for Emyooga, it is the saving that is your surety, and the group members that are your insurance. We just we agreed with the groups and said that for this money, their loan policy is if you have saved 2,000, your maximum loan capacity that you're able to borrow will be 3 times your what? Your saving. It is not that you must save 1/3. It is 1 to 3. And so that people are encouraged to save more. And then the issue of also the RDCs are supposed to endorse. They are supposed to endorse in terms of witness of the first 2 transactions. Because what if people say, a few people divided this money? They are supposed to endorse as witnesses that I witnessed this first transaction of these members going to withdraw this money.
Rita Namoenje, the national coordinator for the Emyooga initiative, please hold that thought. Let's first go to Moyo and talk to Scovin Icheta. Moyo district received some 900 doses of vaccine, so we want to get more information in that regard. Scovin Icheta, my brother, what's the latest coming in?
Romeo Bisiku, I'm live from Moyo. As you can see at the background, this is the Moyo town. I'm just here. Well, the Moyo District Health Department has received 950 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine, whereby the most of the target that is going to focus on is, of course, the teachers and the head teachers in the various respective schools in the district. As far as the COVID-19 is concerned, you know, the schools have been locked down, and the children are really roaming up and down in the rural areas particularly. It is really more discussed in the station as far as this lockdown is concerned. But in this perspective, as of course you are aware about the directive of the Honorable Minister about the issues of teachers to be mobilized, the stakeholders in the various districts have to mobilize the teachers to go to receive this facility. As far as the trend is concerned, in Moyo, most of the private teachers have already received the vast of the context as far as the vaccine is concerned. Now others are going to receive the second dose. This comes at the right time as the people are really waiting to see how the school is going to open, because the strengthening is really going out of hand. Remember, in one of the sub-county in Moyo district, already 250 teenager pregnancy cases were registered in this context. As far as of now, people are really mobilized to go, particularly the teachers, to go and receive this vaccine. This is what I can really tell as far as the is concerned. And thereafter, there are some people are going to make the vaccination to be vaccinated. But yesterday, I was interacting with some of the health officials in the district. They have already told me that the distribution has already taken place in the health center this perspective. And in the context of that, in the district also, there are some aspects where the health centers are also carrying out testing COVID-19. Back to you, Romeo Bisiku from Moyo.
Mr. Scovin Icheta, you look so dashing in that bow tie, I must say. Good to see you, my brother, and thank you very much for that update. Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us right here on Morning at NTV. I still do have Honorable Martin Ojarama Penduzi. He's the chairperson of the Local Government Public Accounts Committee, and also MP Badegla. We also do have Rita Namoenje, the national coordinator of the Emyooga program under the President's office. You are still reacting to Mr. Ojara's submission.
For the training, I want to affirm to...
2 hours of training instead of 3 days.
For the training, I want to affirm that training began way back from the time of mobilization. There was training, mobilization and sensitization. Then we also want to affirm that we were affected by COVID. So you couldn't bring a lot of numbers, and also make sure people stay in the same place for a long period of time because life is precious. However, we agree that we are going to train in phases and also do mentorship. We visit these circles almost every single period of time and look at their records and then take them through where they have not understood and also do a needs assessment. In these records, in their operations, what is missing so that we continue to mentor. And Microfinance Support Center is supposed to move with these circles to a tune of 2 years until their capacity is built that they can stay on their own.
But 11 years down the road since this initiative was launched, some people have not received the money. 11 months down the road, people have not received this money. And we also do know that in Mbadara, they say that you as technocrats have not put information in the hands of the people. And
I also want to affirm that when you look at 4 million Ugandans who are in Emyooga, we have only trained 31,000 and we picked leaders because of COVID. But now that they have opened up, we are going to scale up the training. But however, we wouldn't look at training to be a hindrance of people accessing the money. We try to do it in phases. Then I also want to affirm to Ugandans that going forward, we are picking the few challenges. We shall make sure the challenges of money being little, but before I talk about the seed capital being little for certain types of enterprises like produce dealers, women entrepreneurs, I want to also look at the objective because Honorable said if we share, if they divide, they will get like 50,000.
130 groups sharing 30 million. Will be
so I want to affirm that this money is not for sharing. This money is revolving. You borrow, you return. And it is moving on circle movement, where circle is saving and credit, where sources of revenue are supposed to be from internal sources, which is usually their saving, their registration, and their fines, and then the business they run and get interest so that their money grows. And the more the numbers, the better, because you'll have more more savings, so more money to loan out. However, on the part of government to spur or to catalyze this business to go further, there is a proposal. The budget is passed in Parliament. And my plea is for the parliamentarians, our member of Parliament, because they help us solve community problems by allocating resources, is to make sure that they allocate more resources so that we open up the seed capital. We cut shoulders according to our sleeves. The amount of money that was allocated to us was 260 billion for Emyooga. And the circles were formulated in the whole Uganda, when I've not put Kampala and Wakiso, around 6,275. When you just allocate the seed capital put and in these circles and Kampala, there are around 800 circles. When you total and look at the seed capital put, all the money we are looking at, the 660, when you total, is just seed without operational costs. In fact, the people in Emyooga should be applauded for the spirit of voluntarism, because they said, you know, poverty is for all of it's a vice.
Martin says many of whom are pulling out of these programs because they're losing hope.
No. The hope, it is too early to say they are pulling out of this program. True, there are some numbers that dropped off, especially for those people who thought the money would be shared, who never understood the objective. Then also, I want to also tell you that most of these enterprises were affected by COVID. The borders at one time stopped operating. Sorry, the taxi operators one time stopped operating. Now, there is no way you would give money to a taxi operator to borrow in a moment of when they are not operating, because their source of saving and revenue is through their enterprise.
Isn't that the purpose, to help them get back on their feet?
When you give them when they are not operating, they will eat it So some of us who support, who are in business development, you support someone in action.
So this is a program
You
for
don't-
people who are already working and
yes.
are well off.
No, not well off. People who are already working. These enterprises are people who are already working, not people who are starting business.
Honorable Mapenduzi, what
So
do you make?
a few of them did not
Well,
access the money.
I think that's where we have the contradiction.
Indeed.
Your aspirations, your intentions may be different from what people know.
Indeed.
From from what the people gave us. Number one, the program started at the time when there was a lot of political activities going on.
Indeed.
And so there's been a mix-up. Some people have refused to understand that it has nothing to do with the political period that went. And so there is need to do a good job in trying to educate the population. The other thing my sister is saying is that Parliament should provide more money. Yes, it's our mandate as Parliament. And I can tell you, I'll be one of those really supporting the idea of providing a lot more money. But you see, that cannot happen if there are no clear frameworks. We need to have clear guidelines so that we know the money will not be abused. We know there are people we are going to hold accountable. We know the intended beneficiaries are going to receive the money. There are some bureaucratic tendencies that have been, well, I don't want to say deliberate, but the bureaucratic lines are affecting the implementation of this program. All right. So we need to, why should a group keep on moving every day, spending money, moving to look for this money, and they take over 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, running around.
Right.
And they haven't got it. This is not fair. And by the way, some groups, when we met last Saturday with the group leaders. Some of them are saying, pay back the 20,000 we contributed, which is meant for their own operation. They're saying, no. I think you are bringing us more problem, because the little we had, we have spent it. We are running around. You have told us to rent offices. Some of the groups have rented offices worth 200,000 shilling per month. They have been there for several months. They don't have now the money to even rent. Some of the offices are locked. But the condition is you must have an office, you do this, and I think it's important to be considerate. The other thing because I don't want to blame anybody.
Indeed.
I think we need to be solution oriented. And I really appreciate that the president came with this initiative.
Nice.
I give him a plus. The intention is very good. It's welcome. But I think the manner in which implementation is taking place is not the best and needs to be improved. But you cannot improve unless, one, there are clear operation guidelines. These people need to know what they have to do, how they do it, and has to start from the top.
The intended target.
Yes, to the bottom. There should be clear structural framework where people are held accountable. And then when you go to the cities or districts, the accounting officers will tell you, no, it has nothing to do with me. I cannot talk about it because I'm nowhere in the whole world. That's not fair. And then the other thing, if we want to succeed, the people we task to execute the idea should be well facilitated.
Operational costs.
Yes, exactly. There should be money. And I think this is an idea that, yes, it's a good intention. We thank the president, but I think the president needs to know
Money for sensitization.
that for this to succeed, the people involved in the implementation should be well facilitated to do a good job so we can hold them more accountable. There will be no excuses. But also we need to make sure there is political monitoring.
Indeed.
When you go to like in Gulu City, the mayor does not have where to fall.
And this is where we bring in the leaders.
The councillors are not there. They are not monitoring. And I don't understand. Of course, there is no clear guideline. But I think government needs to be very sensitive. You have the money comes, and then there is microfinance support center, and then the Emyooga group. There is a lot of micromanagement, a lot of stringent conditions. And I think microfinance support center and Post Bank and these other banks, that how they are treating the groups appear to be very shabby. And I think that needs to be corrected. So I think we should look at how to empower the structures of government to work well. We should create clear framework. regulatory framework, guidelines that can make sure we do the right thing, and then put resources to facilitate. I'll give you the example of the RCC of Gulo, Mr. Dennis Odongpin. This is a man who is devoted, very committed. So, and the office for Microfinance Support Center, the regional office is in Lira. And they have to run from Gulu to Lira to sort out a few things. They don't have even fuel.
Operational costs.
He has to use his own money to fuel his car and run to Lira. The commercial officer in Gulu, they don't have any logistics. So how do you expect them to work? And then you are saying they're not doing well. I think that needs to be worked on. We need to put resources. And I think this is something, and I want to thank the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. She did a good job, and we need to recognize
Anita Mo.
Yes. And when we report back to Parliament, one of our demands will be, let's have the guideline, let's support the people who are implementing, let's provide more money. Let me tell you this. If you are telling a produce dealing group in Gulo City to form their SACCO and their budget is 30 million. Of course, they are supposed to also save their own money, right? But you're putting 30 million. I think we don't need to treat every category the same way.
True.
We don't need to do it that way. There are enterprises that attract a lot more people with bigger businesses, and so we need to be realistic and create more resources for them. And then we also need to know how we treat the urban areas and how we treat the rural areas. The enterprises may be the same, but the magnitude of work, it's different. And so if you're going to treat the cities, look at the cities as large commercial areas that need to be given a lot more attention, because that is where you begin to empower the engine of the economy. It's a business hub. So that is key. So we generally, it's a good idea, but I think we need to really do much more.
And from your assessment, would it be safe to say that the Emyooga initiative has not hit its intended target or goal?
Yes, I'll be very fair and say there is a lot more to do so it can achieve the... And we don't need to lie the president who came with this good idea.
Indeed.
When things are not working, we should say it's not working.
Indeed.
So we can create rooms for improvement. And it's good to always be very honest, because there are many programs that have been initiated. And so the reports, even in actually sub-region, the latest UBOS report indicates that it has gone down. It's about 68% in terms of poverty level. But there's been so many programs. So what has gone wrong? How do we reorganize ourselves and make sure the good intentions work? Most of these ideas are good, but when it comes to implementation, the design and all that, and that's where we have a problem.
Honorable Mapem Duzi, if you go to Soroti City, they disbursed some 1.1 billion shillings to over 36 groups. Now, guess how much money has been recouped? Only 10 million. Meaning the leaders are saying the ability of the people to pay back has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Expand more on that.
Well, to some extent, I'll say yes. COVID-19 has been really a big... it has greatly affected our people, and we need to accept that. One gentleman who represented, in our meeting, who represented the performing artists, got up and said, look, you expect us to access this money. What are we going to do with the money? Our business is singing and performing, and we don't perform these days.
Where do we invest the money?
Where do we invest the money? So technically, you are knocking us out. So I said, well, that is an angle that needs to be well understood.
Indeed.
How are we going to support them even when they're not able to perform and generate income? The other thing is, like she said, the border borders. The border borders are saying, yeah, we were locked out. And that brings me to one key thing. The period for refund. The guys who are implementing are saying within 4 months, get the money, generate, and return it. You are talking about 4 months. How does that work? We have been having lockdowns and lockdowns. We are not sure whether we are going to have another one. So there is need for flexibility. I think we need to be considerate and also understand the nature of people we are dealing with. We are dealing with people who need to be supported in terms of knowledge, but also in terms of the resources. We also need to have the goodwill. There is some level of arrogance in this country. Like some group told me, they no longer want to go to the bank, because when they go to the bank, they are being harassed. we need to attend to people, create that environment, so our people can get to understand and do the right thing.
Very insightful conversation I'm having with Honorable Martin Ojarama Penduzi. He is the chairperson of the Local Government Public Accounts Committee and also the MP for Badeg Laibi. We also do have Rita Namoinje, the national coordinator of the Emyooga initiative in the president's office. Please react to his submission. He's mentioned so many things.
I also want
leaders being cut out of the program. How do you implement such an initiative without the leaders?
First of all, let me thank the speaker, the deputy speaker.
Anita.
For this gesture of making sure that the parliamentarians go and monitor this program. Indeed, they have done us a service, because certain things they're talking about are right, and we had also earmarked and we had prepared a paper for our minister to come and present in Parliament, so that they are whatever. However, on the issue of microfinance support center, I want to really ask the parliamentarians to support it. It is the only institution that has the expertise in training and mentoring small and medium enterprises, and they have a history of success stories of mentoring small and medium enterprises.
Right.
And so far, they have done a good job, although the few challenges.
What about the issue of the leaders, Rita?
Now, on the issue of the leaders, Emyooga program began, like you said, in 2019.
Indeed.
Then 2020, we moved into an election period. And we thought if we put all the politicians on board at that period of time, we didn't know who is bouncing back or who is not bouncing back. And we needed a neutral ground, so that this one doesn't say, these are my supporters, these are not my supporters. And that's why we use the legal structures.
It seems
like
you still fell into the same trap. In Kawempe, you are operating in an NRM office.
No. For Kawempe's issue, like I told you, we are championing the circle movement. Circle movement, these circles are member-owned, member-governed, member-managed.
Yes.
So they decide where to put the office or not. So if the members decide, for us, we don't tell them, don't put the office there. They will say, which interest do you have? For us, our main role is to make sure that they access those services we're supposed to what? To provide. But not go in their bedroom to say, the bed is supposed to be in this what? In this angle, or be in this angle. There are offices, there are places where I've gone, and they are nearer the office of FDC. Here in Najanankumi, we have a circle next, but nobody has complained about it. For us, our role is to make sure we give them the services, not to put this belongs to this or this belongs to this. Because the political period has ended, we are serving all Ugandans.
What about the slow process of recouping the money? We gave you an example of Soroti City, where 1.1 billion was released, but only 10 million so far has been recovered. The slow process of recovery.
I want to encourage everyone, because they are the ones who decided the loan period, to make sure that they try to...
But also, sorry for interruption.
Yes, Martin.
You're giving this good example. Like when we had our meeting in Gulu on Saturday, last week, we encountered a similar situation where a concern was raised that somebody accessed 4 million shilling.
4 million?
Claiming to be a member of the Border Association, when actually it's not. And then when we asked the commercial officer how this happened, she said, yes, it is true, and we have been hoodwinked, and we are trying to look for this gentleman. And I said, well, I think that's your own negligence. And first of all, you did not follow what was supposed to be followed. And so we asked that she should record a statement with the police, but we also requested the mayor, whom we believe is very proactive. So we requested the mayor that within a week, we want to get feedback, all right? We asked the police to intervene. This money has to be recovered, and if this gentleman who got this money is not got, the officer responsible will have to pay back. Because when rules are created, and when a program is created, we need to make sure the intention is achieved. So I think, madam, just like you are putting, we need to have a lot more stringent conditions for people involved in the implementation, so they don't play around with
Now you see the other thing of, because RDC is the head of the security team, for him to witness, he will know this person got, in case there is anything, it's very easy to swing in action.
Then the other question is,
And,
how did then the other one got? Does it mean
now,
the RDC witness?
and now that
There's too much confusion in there.
And now that because there are several places where we have arrested, and I thank the MP to have raised that. We have teams nearby, and each sub-region has a regional coordinator, and the Microfinance Support Center has also allocated a staff, particularly to monitor this program. We are going to get in touch with the structures and make sure that person is brought to book.
All right.
Like others have been brought to book.
Thank you very much, Rita Namoinje, the National Coordinator of the Emyooga program under the President's Office, and also Honorable Ojara Martin Mapenduzi. He is the MP for Badegla and is also the chairperson of the Local Government Public Accounts Committee. He will be engaging the members of the public next week around Monday, assessing the impact of the 100,000 Uganda shillings that was recently dispersed to members of the public. And we shall bring him back onto the show to expand more on what these findings are. All right, thank you very much. Let's go to Stephen Imbide. He has something for us. A very good morning once again, sir. What's the latest?
Money, we'll talk about Emyooga. Yes, on the ground, what's happening from the eastern? You've been to Guru, from, of course, through Honorable Mapendus, but now let's cross to the eastern side. What's coming from that side? This was, that is Kagoma North. I'm speaking to Honorable Alex Brandon Chintu, the MP from Kagoma North, and of course, he's also the caucus, NRM caucus spokesperson, and he's going to brief me from that other side of the eastern, especially from his constituency. What's the report card? Because now Parliament, members of Parliament are looking at this disbursement and how people are getting these funds. Are they satisfied with this initiative from the President, of course, to uplift the standards of the people? Good morning to you, Honorable.
Good morning, viewers. First of all, I would like to appreciate the government of Uganda for always giving Ugandans a chance. As you're well aware, we've had so many progressing programs, right from the youth programs, from so many programs. I'm glad that Honorable Mapendus is in the studio. He's been a local leader at the district chairperson, so he knows all these programs. But irrespective of what has not been going right, the government has not been frustrated. They have constantly come up with programs because this is the only government that centers and looks at the well-being of all Ugandans. As we all are aware that the president is the only one that takes an oath of promoting and protecting the welfare of all Ugandans. Now, coming back to Emyooga, I would like to thank my sister, Rita. I have been following. They really have a very good program. And it's very, very proud seeing such young people that are patriotic. This patriotism we're talking about. Emyooga is really a good program. Findings from Kagoma North constituency, people have gotten money, and circles have been formed. Only that there's one challenge that most people thought that this was a political program, that it only came to benefit NRM, which is not true. I'm glad Honorable Mapendus was explaining it well. So by the time other groups came on board, the program had already started shifting. But we would like to encourage the rest of the members that Emyooga is a very ongoing program. So as long as you follow the guidelines, of course there are little challenges in terms of communication, and when it comes to money-related issues, people should really understand. We have made findings as Parliament, and we're glad to the Speaker that she gave us this opportunity to come, which we're going to make fundamental reports. But basically, like what my sister Rita says, we just need to empower to add the budget for Emyooga, but it's a very benefiting program.
So when you look at the money, wherever money is, there is a lot of disagreement. You saw what happened with the money that was supposed to benefit the vulnerable groups. And many people were complaining that they didn't get the money. Those who were supposed to get the money, they didn't get it. Those who are not supposed to get it, some of them got the money. And now, when you report back to Parliament, we are planning also to move into the parish development model. But can we use this as a benchmark? The problems we found, still, some people were saying that, of course, NRM people were the ones benefiting from this money. They were the ones being registered.
Well, this is not true that it was only NRM people. That's what I told you in the beginning, that some people took it for lag that it was a political program. Emyooga is initially a program for everyone. I can count the groups or circles in Kagoma that benefited. And most of these individual members, I know they belong to opposition party, but they are united in circles of development. Because when we are talking about poverty, it does not call in any of your political affiliations or religion. We are all affected equally. Coming as a benchmark, of course, as a country, we've had so many programs that we have learned through experience. And learning does not stop. The other day I was discussing with a friend and was like, for 30 years you're still learning. I told him, hey, look here, computer, it's a gadget that we have to learn every day. So this program is really good. We are so pleased as NRM. Yesterday I communicated as a publicity secretary for NRM that on Friday we're having a caucus. The chairman of the party is going to discuss with us details, what is embedded in the parish model. So looking at what you asked whether it's been a benchmark, it's been a great experience because people have been into this program like Emyooga. They have understood and they're appreciating, and many are organizing. So as we also approach with the parish model, it will be a very good opportunity, and we shall address these challenges to make sure that the policies and everything in line is put to benefit all the Ugandans, because this is a generation for working hard. You have been seeing His Excellency and the Prime Minister saying this is Chisanja, Hakuna Mchezo. We want every Ugandan included in development patterns in this country.
But isn't this just sloganeering, Chisanja, Hakuna Mchezo? You see still issues of corruption still coming up, money being money disappearing, even when you have those good slogans. Model after model, you have these empowerment programs. Is it just a way of just changing the name, and then people still lag behind in abject poverty?
Development is a process, my brother, and in some developed countries they even have levels of development. There are theories of development. So it's not something that just comes in a full mass consumption. And then the other thing, every day I'm a Christian, I was starting to become a priest. Every day they are talking about Jesus. They have talked about Jesus 2,000 years. When you walk in the streets of Kampala, they are still talking about Jesus. So they are encouraging people to get salvation. That's development. We have urbanization. People are moving rural to urban. We have regional, these places are geographically located differently. So we shall not get tired of talking. If you talk about slogan, these slogans are there to remind people. And if you look at the development patterns from the previous, let's zero down 5 years, there is a lot of change. So as government that is in power, we shall not get tired of talking about development issues. Because people, with our culture, we need to be reminded. That's why every day they're reminding us about Jesus. Churches are coming up every day, and people on the streets talking about Jesus to remind people. So this is development as well. So it's not about making slogans, but it's moving forward, making sure that all Ugandans are inclusive. I'll give you an example. Look at our parliament now. Initially, we used to think that parliament should be for these very elder or great people, but we have a generation of young men and women. These are committed Ugandans to see that Uganda moves in front. So I'd like to assure the people that with the leadership and the government, NRM in power, is committed to deliver and making sure that every Ugandan is moving forward in terms of development.
You know, these sources of money that comes to the people, you have Operational Wealth Creation, you have UDC, you have Microfinance Support Center. Don't you think that as we disperse these Emyooga funds, the parish development model also, don't we need to have a system, a streamlined system of dispersing this money, a law that says so and so this group of people, this category of people should access these funds through these channels?
If you are aware, you remember very well that the parish model, this money was passed by the previous parliament, and there should be guidelines, and the guidelines are there. And that's why actually we have patriotic and very serious leaders in parliament and different levels, decentralization. So we are going to talk about this. It's good the conversation have started. And as NRM, we cannot extensively discuss about the parish model because we are going to caucus on Friday. And the brain behind this is going to communicate. And of course, there will be policies put in place to make sure that these proper guidelines are followed. We have technical people on ground. We have the CDOs, we have commercial officers, we have all sorts of technical people to guide. The only thing we have to say is that how do we involve everyone? How do people take responsibility to make sure that this is my docket, what is my role to make sure that this is a program for everyone and people may benefit in terms of development.
Okay, let's go on the ground. As this plan is out, you're going for the meeting on Friday. What should the people on the ground, the villages, those people in those parishes across Uganda, what should be the thinking and what should be doing now as they organize themselves before this money comes out? Yes, they really find them ready with the programs, the plans, so that they really benefit the intended plan.
Well, I would not say, because it will be like you're planning to dig a grave before somebody dies, when somebody's in the hospital. I would say let us give it a little time, let us exhaust, let us have a conversation in the caucus, let us involve all the stakeholders. We have structural leaders, not only the line active politicians, but also structural leaders in terms of leagues, in terms of youth, the disabled. We want to include everyone on board. So the program will be out and it will be later discussed to make sure that people participate how they try to get involved. Because I'll give you an example. If the parish, we have different parishes and we have these parishes in different levels, they are populated differently. The parishes in Kampala are different looked on like the parishes in Kagoma. So we shall have this conversation to see what best program fits this parish.
You know, the reason that's why I'm asking you this is during the disbursement of the money for the relief funds, I'm talking about the vulnerable groups, there were complaints from political leaders. They wanted also to be included. Now, this is the time, before we even say that we are rolling out the parish development model, these different groups, categories of leaders, maybe the religious leaders, the cultural institutions, who should be involved? What is the thinking as you go for this meeting? What will you, as an MP for Kagoma, what will you be telling your caucus members as well as the party chairman?
Well, I would like to assure you that NRM as a party is very mindful about all categories of people. And as the chairman of the party communicated to call this caucus, because he solely called his caucus, there is no person I've seen that loves Uganda or the country that has a bigger heart than President Museveni. So looking at that, he has been making consultations with the religious leaders, the disabled, the youth. That's why we all have leadership. Recently, we have the elderly MPs, and these elderly people are represented at all levels. So these leaders are going to be included to make sure that no one is left behind. Everyone is going to be included to make sure that the voices are heard and they are involved into before the disbursement of this. Looking about other programs, of course people are always involved, people are always informed, but we need to change and also work on the mindset of us, that we don't look at programs into political affiliations. We look at every program that comes to benefit us and to lift us on the issues of development. Okay. So as the publicity secretary, of course, we are going to mobilize our NRM MPs, because most of us come from the rural settings and we have these challenges to make sure that we don't leave anyone behind, all stakeholders are included and everyone will be involved in these programs.
Okay, but of course, opposition usually cries out that the NRM caucus is just a rubber stamp. Whatever comes from the chairman, you don't have any objection, don't have anything to supplement, you just give a nod.
And then that's a very wrong perception. The problem was there's a distance in terms of communication. Honorable Mapenduzi will tell you how many great NRM legislators we have in that parliament. But that's a thinking that has been created outside. But here we come with fresh ideas. That's why I came to contest as an NRM spokesperson, that I'm bridging the gap to inform the people that we have brilliant NRM members of parliament that are there to work. And this bias should stop. Like I told you in the beginning, when we talk about development, it does not exclude any, and it does not really include any political affiliation or a region. We are all assigned together. We are all in line into development. So that was a bias, but we are clearing, and people, the public know, the work of Parliament does not only end in the House. There are committees that are working. Parliament is instituted. We shall be out there to inform the public how performing these NRM MPs are. And NRM MPs are really working a great job to make sure that the manifesto of NRM is implemented for the good of this country.
Thank you so much, Honorable Alex Brandon Chintu, the MP for Kagoma North, but of course he is also the NRM caucus spokesperson. We shall be observing and watching them as they go for the caucus on Friday, but as well as Parliament goes ahead with receiving the reports from these different constituencies on the distribution and how this, the model, the partial development model, but as most importantly, the Emyooga funds, the reports from those constituencies, what is on the ground. Stephen Imbide on Emyooga, been here with Collins Muhwezi, and now